Hey guys, this is my third run in the Conquering Crevasse series in DFFOO Global's 5th anniversary, and this run is going to be on part 4 of the Crevasse, which is the third and final Shinryu level stage, level 300. In addition, this run is also going to be a full Auto Plus run featuring a party of Celes, Auron and Gladio. That's right, I'm using 3 tanks for this stage. And since this is an Auto Plus run, I won't go into too much on what actions that they take, but I'll cover a bit on the mechanics on this stage, as well as my progress through Crevasse so far. First of all, normally you wouldn't want to use 2 cover tanks together, such as Auron and Gladio, because obviously only one tank will be able to cover at one time. So if one tank covers, the other tank will not trigger a counter attack. However, on this stage it's not so much of an issue because the bosses really only have 2 regular attacks, which is Helm Splitter right here. Helm Splitter is a single target attack, so when you cover, only one of the cover tanks will trigger the counter. However, the only other attack that they have will be Felfy Eye, and that is an AoE attack. So Felfy Eye, which is half of the boss's attacks, will still trigger counter attacks across both Gladio and Auron, so you aren't crippled that much in terms of counter attack damage. Second reason, of course, this stage being Crevasse, you are incentivized of course to use similar weapon types and color crystals to maximize your points. So by putting together this tank party of 3, I can use the triple Broadsword weapon code as well as 2 black crystal weapon code, since Auron and Gladio share the same color crystal. My thought behind this is that after this stage I probably wouldn't be using a Broadsword cover tank for the Lufenia stages, mainly because it's going to be very difficult to put together the codes and achieve enough points. After some calculation, I would need to score very close to maximum points on the remaining 3 stages, which would require me to use the triple weapon codes, which would mean that I wouldn't be able to fit in a Broadsword user anymore anyway, so might as well just go all out on this stage. With 3 tanks, you don't have to worry about dying ever, so you just can leave it on auto and eventually the bosses will die. The force time here will obviously be Celes, as she's the only force time user. Finally, the counter attack and force time strategy, or often force time strategy, works really well here, mainly because the Felfy Eye or the Curse Eye debuff on your characters has a speed down, and when the bosses pass certain force thresholds as well, they also incorporate a turn rate down mechanic as well. Put together, all this means that the bosses will get a lot of turns in between your party characters' turns, which really suits the off-turn strategy really well. Ideally, also you want Celes to hit force time before the bosses do, and I got quite lucky here. But if you're worried about hitting force time before the bosses, you can of course manually do the first half of the fight up till here to try to maximize your chance of getting force time. Once you hit force time, this is really ideal because this way the boss will retain their force gauge and you will benefit from the low turn rate that they inflict on you. And Auto Plus works really well here because both Gladio and Auron and Celes has quite a lot of LD users anyway, and you will definitely finish the fight before they even run out of LD users, so you don't have to worry too much about the AI. The only one drawback here in Auto Plus is that Celes traps, being a debuff based on the boss, will wear off pretty quickly, and since the speed is pretty slow, and what will happen is Celes EX will charge very quickly and she will just repeatedly use EX, since the AI will always prioritize EX use over LD. This means that eventually the traps will fall off the bosses, but by then it doesn't really matter too much because in my run, by the time the traps fall off, the bosses are near death that I don't even need to reapply the traps. However, of course, if you are worried, you can always manually control Celeste's turn and just use her LD once to reapply her traps midway through the fight. As with all my other Crevasse runs, I also use a Brothers summon here, and that represents a safety sort of backup plan, in that if you find that you're lacking in damage, you can always turn off Auto Plus at 1 turn of force time remaining and pop summon for a huge nuke at the end, and that should be more or less enough to finish off the fight, considering that in this run I didn't even need to pop summon to finish the bosses off. Celes is the one holding my 505 ultimate weapon, and both Gladio and Auron are just holding their EX weapons. One last note about this fight is that I did remove speed passives on all 3 characters. As always, I will outline in the video description the passives that I removed, but the simple concept behind it is that you just want to make all 3 characters as slow as possible. The slower they are, the better it is here. Now that I've covered this particular fight, moving on to my progress so far in Crevasse. I am a little bit slow because it's been a pretty busy few days at work for me, but I hope to complete the whole Crevasse in the next day or so, hopefully. Counting the points though, in the hard mode difficulty, if you want to collect all rewards you need 525 points. However, the final tier is really just 3 tickets, and if that's not very important to you, you can always stop at 510 points for the last so-called meaningful reward. The full 525 points is pretty tight, and on calculation here, upon finishing stages 4, 5 and 6, I will have 331 points, which means that I need to get the maximum score in 2 of the Lufenia stages, requiring me to use triple weapon and triple crystal codes, and the final Lufenia stage has to be very close to a perfect score in order to hit 525 points. For reference, the maximum score that you can get in the first 3 stages is only 66 points, because the multiplier is only 1.5 and you can only select the Lufenia Orb code. So on hindsight, it is going to be pretty tight for me if I want to hit 525 points, but let's see, hopefully the stages are doable enough that I can get away with triple weapon and triple crystal codes, because those are pretty restrictive. If I can't make it and I'm short by a few points, I may have to redo some of the stages. But since I'm uploading stage by stage as I go along, I really want to try to get it done in just one pass. If I can't, then I will of course re-upload my re-attempts on stages 4, 5 and 6. If you are struggling, my recommendation is to just aim for 510 points. The 15 point difference is pretty huge, and hitting 510 points is actually significantly easier than 525. And although you miss out on the 3 tickets, the flexibility it provides you allows you to get all 510 points without using the triple weapon and crystal codes. To hit 525, you really must use all the triple weapon and all the triple crystal color codes, otherwise you can't meet the point requirement. They made it pretty tight this time around. Coming back to the fights, you can see I'm already close to 900% force time and I still have half the force time to go, so it really isn't that difficult. I'm pretty sure right here, even if you manually switch off Auto Plus and just pop summon, the bosses will be more or less dead, and if not, you can just finish them off in summon mode anyway. One tip on this particular stage, since often strategy works really well, if you do have Celes FR, you can consider using the triple dagger code here. Celes and H are pretty good often characters and they both use daggers, and as a bonus, both of them are also blue crystal characters. So you could potentially do something like Celes, H and Zidane, and that way you can use triple dagger and triple blue color crystal for a massive boost in points. And even then, it shouldn't be too difficult. Celes would have access to her FR if you did pull for it, and most people will probably have a dagger ultimate weapon now that Canelo has been released as a global exclusive or global first. Sadly, that's not an option for me because I did skip Celes FR. Anyway, that's the end of this fight. As always, I hope the video has been helpful, and if you enjoyed the content, do leave a like, comment or subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next Crevasse fight. Bye!